We are expecting that we have a country that our leaders will be more concerned about the dividends of democracy, concerned about democratic system of governance, concerned about all inclusiveness, concerned about a government, I would want to say a government that pay attention to the demands and yearnings of the people, pay attention to the masses' request. We are expecting that Bola Tinubu administration, being concerning the fact that he was one of those persons, the president was one of those persons that actually was leading agitation in this country. He has also led a protest against the former president, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, on the increments of fuel, of petrol. He also led a protest against bad government or bad governance. According to him, that we have a government that was actually not paying attention to the demands and yearnings of Nigerians. According to him and Soyinka, Professor Wole Soyinka, protested against Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, even when Nigeria was at a point of managing the economy, and the economy wasn't that difficult or hard like it is on us right now. Mr. President Bola Tinubu actually protested against the then president, requesting that Mr. President must cut down the cost price of petrol. He also condemned the administration of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, that his administration was not being fair to Nigerians. He also condemned the fact that Nigerians were suffering under the administration of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. When we saw a man like that, we felt his own position or his tenure or administration as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that Nigerians were going to enjoy at least a better system than the government he protested against. We felt President Bola Tinubu will give Nigerians a better system of governance, and not only to Nigerians, but also have to be an example to the world that Nigerians is indeed, or Nigeria is indeed, a better country where leaders is concerned about their people, especially an agitator like him. He is an agitator, and we also expect something good coming out from an agitator, especially when he is in leadership. But unfortunately, this is an unfortunate situation that we face in Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu administration, without being economical to the truth, let's be realistic. Even Mr. President Bola Tinubu is aware that the country is not nice. Nigeria is not being fair to Nigerians. The country he represents, the president, our rebellion leaders, are not concerned about the welfare and the happiness of Nigerians. It's also obvious that in our constitution, the happiness of the citizens of this country is also embedded in the Nigerian constitution as another way of indicating or expressing welfare and a good leadership quality to the people of Nigerians. Now, as we speak, 65 years gone, what can we actually say that we have benefited in Nigeria celebrating independence at 70 and 65? I am also very not surprised or not shocked that Mr. President Bola Tinubu do not see the need of celebrating this year independent, because even to Mr. President, he is aware that there is nothing to celebrate at this point in time. But I think the major concern Mr. President has that he has refused to address is very simple. Mr. President must find himself with those that are positive thinkers, those that think well about Nigeria as a country, those that mean well for Nigerians. It's unfortunate that President Bola Tinubu, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is not surrounded by those that mean well for Nigerians. And that is why the country is always and is going backward on daily basis. The country, instead of going forward, the country is going backward, because the cabinet members, or those that have been appointed as his cabinet members, are actually not those that are concerned about the welfare and the demands and yearnings of Nigeria. In the entire country, everybody is crying. Just look at what happened today. Today, Rivers State suffered democratic values for 6 months because of bad leadership, because of bad advisors, because of those his advisory council were not doing well to educate him of the menace or the negative implication of creating or setting up or declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State. His advisors were not going well in that aspect. As we speak, Rivers State suffered complete 6 months without government in a state or in a country where we said we are practicing democratic system, in a country where we are not having military regime, in a country where we're having a democratic system of government, and then another state, another government or an elected president we go forward or we went further to suspend and declare a state of emergency in Rivers State, all because he has bad advisors. I think Mr. President must also be grassrooted. I see Mr. President as someone that is a grassroots man. So if Mr. President want to exhibit or express his person or passion of being a grassroots person, Mr. President ought to know what is going on in the 36 states, including the FCT. It's unfortunate that Mr. President seems to be concerned about just the FCT, Abuja, the capital territory, and is not concerned about other parts of the country. And that is why Nigerians are suffering. Upon all the calls, look at what is going on in the National Assembly. Look at what is going on in all sectors. The security aspect, Mr. President has refused to set up one agenda, to prioritize one agenda. Mr. President must know that Renew Hope is not an agenda. Renew Hope is not an agenda. So if Mr. President must talk about Renew Hope, we can only talk about Renew Hope when you are doing well in a country that was not doing well. As we speak, can Mr. President Bola Tinubu stand up as a president and tell Nigerians, tell the world that his administration today is doing better than the administration he protested against? Mr. President, this is a question that Nigerians youth want to ask you. This is a question that Niger Delta youth want to ask you. This is a question that South Youth Initiative want to ask you. This is a question that the less privileged in Nigeria want to ask you. This is a question that the motherless, the orphans, and those with disabilities want to ask you, Mr. President. Can you, Mr. President, hit your chest and tell Nigerians that today, the administration you lead today as the president is actually doing well or doing better than the administration you protested against, than the administration you and others protested against? Today, Mr. President, you're not interested in protest. Today, Mr. President, you're not interested in agitation. Today, Mr. President is not interested in opposition. But Mr. President was saying as the leader of opposition in this country, and nothing happens. People did not die. People wasn't killed. People were living. People were happy. People were still going on with their normal life. Even when Mr. President was saying, as one of those persons that was opponent or against the then administration. But today, the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, is not interested or not happy about opposition. Today, Mr. President don't want to see people agitating against his own government. And then we ask, if your government was doing better, would Nigerians be coming out on the street to protest or to agitate against your government? The answer is your conscience. I think Mr. President will answer this question in his own conscience. Today, Fulani herdsmen are taking over the entire country. As we speak, people are dying, millions, thousands of Nigerians are dying on a daily basis. Mr. President has refused to take action about those that are killing Nigerians. What are we being faced? What are we being asked to do? Instead, Mr. President and the government of Nigeria and the current administration of Mr. President in our various states are telling us, even our security architectures, security agencies are telling us to go and negotiate with our killers. It happened in Ogoni land. It happened in Benue. It happens in other parts of the world. It's going on in the north. And what are we being faced? What are we asking? What have been asked to do? What we have been asking to do is that we should go and negotiate with our killers. We should go and dialogue with our killers. What then is the fate of Nigerians in the hands of the current administration? Mr. President must realize that Nigerians are not happy. Mr. President must realize that indeed Nigerians will concentrate or will imitate what is going on in other parts of the world. As we speak, we are not happy. Nigerians are not happy. This is 65 years of independence. What can we be able to celebrate in this country? We are responsible. We are the owner of the crude. Yet, no working refineries in this country. We have crude that is coming from Nigeria. This is our product. This is what we produce. We are responsible for the crude. Yet, we are not responsible for the refining of this crude. So what are we saying? What is actually working? What can Mr. President boast about that in his own administration he was found doing well? What can Mr. President boast about? Mr. President cannot boast that his administration is making Nigerians to be happy. As we speak, what is the cost of petrol? For the history or in the history of Nigerians, we have not been able, we've not even during President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, we were not even buying fuel at a rate of 200. It wasn't up to that amount. But today, what are we saying? The same price, the same petrol that we are producing, we go out of this country, we export our crude, and then pay very huge amount of money, pay heavily to refine our crude and bring back to be sold out to Nigerians. But then, Mr. President, there was a decision you took upon your assumption in office when you took over. You made it clear to Nigerians that indeed you are going to remove fuel subsidy, and that once you remove fuel subsidy, Nigerians were going to face a better system of government, and that the fuel subsidy was responsible for the hardship we are facing in this country, and that the fuel subsidy removal is one of those things you are going to do that will make Nigeria a better place. Can Mr. President see to the success of his promise? Can Mr. President say that his promise so far that the fuel subsidy was the major setback that we have in this country has actually brought or bring about success in this country? Mr. President cannot be bold enough to tell Nigerians that the removal of fuel subsidy has made Nigeria a better place ever since he took that decision. Though, we also consider that Mr. President was in a hurry to have taken that decision, because Mr. President did not put in place drastic measures that will be able to address the lingering challenge that will come up as a result of his decision. But today, what are we being faced? We are being faced with tremendous hardship. As we speak, Mr. President in his broadcast said Nigerians are being paid 25,000. Mr. President, if you can see this video, if you can see me, Mr. President, I want to tell you that no Nigerians are receiving 25,000. Nobody has been paid. I am not being paid. No Nigerians have been paid. In the Niger Delta, how many persons have been paid? In the Southeast, how many persons have been paid? In the West, how many persons have been paid? In the entire Southern region, how many persons have been paid? In the entire country, how many persons have been paid 25,000? Mr. President, you must go through that your particular broadcast and look again and ask yourself, all that you said to Nigerians, is it true? The 25,000 you talked about that Nigerians are receiving on a monthly basis. Mr. President, I want to tell you that myself and my family and every Niger Delta that we know right now, they should come out and tell Mr. President or tell the world that this is the family that have received the 25,000 Mr. President talked about. Today, we are hearing of so many challenges that is going on. What is going on in this country? Nothing is working. Mr. President, please, we want Mr. President to know that, like I said earlier, Renew Hope is not agenda, or it's not an agenda that Mr. President should prioritize. Renew Hope comes when people on their own will speak about Renew Hope, that indeed their hope has been renewed based on the administration or based on the positive system of government that we are experiencing. At this point, can we actually say that the Renew Hope Mr. President preached and is being talked about in the 36 states amongst his supporters, that this Renew Hope is actually meeting up its target? No, there is nothing like Renew Hope. Renew Hope is not an agenda, Mr. President. Mr. President, you must prioritize first security. Our institutions are failing. Look at our judiciary. You go to magistrate court, you get a different judgment, compromising judgment. How then do we speak about an institution when our judiciary has compromised in its judgment? When our judiciary has compromised with justice, there is no justice that can be given to the poor. Now the court is now a Father Christmas. When growing up, we were told that the court is not a Father Christmas. But today, I must tell you, Mr. President, that the judiciary and the court under your leadership as the president has become a Father Christmas. Because as we speak right now, what are we saying? The magistrate courts in Nigeria, the customary court in Nigeria, the High Court, and our Supreme Court are then meeting up the expectations of Nigerians. That is the question, Mr. President. Are they meeting up the expectations of Nigerians? The answer is no. Can Nigerians still have hope in the judiciary? How then do we talk about security when these are also major setbacks to security? Then how do we say, what do we say about security? Mr. President must realize that the judiciary has gone. The hope of Nigeria, the common masses in Nigeria judiciary has been killed. So what do we say? Mr. President must realize that in his own administration, which of the institutions that has been seen to be working, we talk about EFCC, talk about ICPC, all those that have been actually accused of siphoning, of being responsible for Nigerian resources, being responsible for Rivers State resources, being responsible for the Ogoni resources, being responsible for the entire country resources, are working with Mr. President. How many of them has been probed? How many of them have actually been listed that these are the people or these are the persons that have actually abused the Nigerian currency or the Nigerian resources or the state or their state resources? How many persons have been probed? What happened to EFCC? Do we still have EFCC? Because we were told that EFCC was an agency responsible to go against those that are actually embezzling government resources of the people's, the taxpayers' money. Now, what then do we have to say about EFCC? EFCC has failed because EFCC have refused to meet up or live up to expectation. So EFCC has failed. Then when you talk about the Nigeria security, the Nigeria security system or security agency must rise up to the challenge. These all challenges bounce back to the Nigeria security system because we are having all of this insecurity in this country because Mr. President has not prioritized the economic situation of this country. Mr. President must understand that our economic factor is the most important factor that will almost to stabilize every other sector. The economic situation, our economic policy is one of those policies that Mr. President would have set up as his agenda. This should have been number one agenda of Mr. President's list. But unfortunately, Mr. President, you are not paying attention to the people you represent. Mr. President, you are not actually giving the kind of administration that Nigerians expect of you. We hope that what is going on in other sister states, in other sisters' country, we hope that what is going on in other countries will not be replicated in Nigeria. But with what we see that coming to Nigeria. We see revolution. We see revolution now in Nigeria. And we call on Nigerian youth to come out and tell this current administration at the state level, local government level, and at the federal government level that indeed the government of Nigeria currently has failed the poor masses. We belong to the poor masses. Can we be able to afford 3 square meals? Mr. President, this country is no longer fair for us. Mr. President, Nigerians are not happy. Nigerians are aggrieved. And we are going to express our grievances come 2027. We need Nigerians to understand that the best way to express our grievances is 2027. Mr. President, I want to call your attention again to the recent situation or the recent crisis you want to create in the Ogoni land. You talked about oil exploration. The president wants to begin oil resumption in Ogoni land. What measure has Mr. President put in place to address the challenge of the people of Ogoni? As we speak, for complete 50 years that Shell operated in Ogoni land, the people have nothing to show for it. The people suffered untold hardship. Nothing was there to show to the people as what the people benefited from the federal government of Nigeria then when Shell was operating in Ogoni. To that effect, the people rise against Shell and said they don't need Shell to operate in Ogoni land. As we speak, the people of Ogoni came together and agreed that Shell should leave Ogoni. And that was how Shell left Ogoni. And that was why oil exploration stopped in Ogoni. And then we talked about the effect or the negative effect of that oil exploration in Ogoni land, which brought about environmental degradation and the level of pollution we have in Ogoni land. That the Ogoni people came out and requested for Ogoni cleanup. We now have a 30 years cleanup, thanks to the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, that ignited it or that started it, even though he failed to implement it. Yes, he started it, but he did not implement it after beginning the process. Thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari for the implementation of the Ogoni UNEP report. Thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari in blessed memory for implementing the Ogoni people's demand, which was the Ogoni cleanup exercise. Today, the Ogoni cleanup exercise is ongoing. According to the implementation, the cleanup exercise was supposed to last for 30 years. How do you want to begin oil resumption when the cleanup exercise is still ongoing? You still want to repollute the land that we are actually trying to clean. What is the agenda? Because Mr. President felt that he does not want to pay attention to the people's demand. Mr. President must give attention to the demands of the people. Now, Mr. President wants to resume oil exploration in Ogoni land. I want to tell Mr. President that the Ogonis are not ready for oil resumption. I want to tell Mr. President that the oil in Ogoni is referred to as blood oil. More than 2,000 persons were killed because of this oil resumption. More than 2,000 persons were killed in Ogoni because of oil exploration in Ogoni land, and yet nothing to show for it. Just establishing or signing the establishment of the University of Environment in Ogoni land is not enough to begin oil resumption in Ogoni land. So, Mr. President, if you are being deceived by those that are rally around you, those coming around you, please, Mr. President, come to the grassroots and ask the people questions. I think it's time Mr. President should pay a visit, senatorial visit, to all the senatorial districts in Nigeria. At least let Mr. President be able to get a first-class information, since Mr. President is not privileged To be
So, my people, let's be honest, this so-called renewed hope agenda that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been shouting about is beginning to look more like renewed scam agenda. Nigerians were promised better days, but what are we seeing today? Rising inflation, hunger everywhere, fuel price skyrocketing, and insecurity still haunting the nation. So where exactly is the hope? When Tinubu came in, he told Nigerians that it is time to renew hope, to rebuild the economy, to create jobs, and to restore confidence. But over 1 year later, the average Nigerian can barely feed twice a day. The minimum wage can't buy a full bag of rice. Businesses are shutting down, and the youth are running out of the country every day. Is that the hope we were promised? Anyway, guys, I'm sure you guys have listened to what this young man said there. Please don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And if this is your first time of coming across my channel, do well to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. So guys, thanks for watching. See you guys again in my next video.